So welcome to today's episode. Today I want to talk about something which might potentially affect you if you are an influencer or if you are somebody who communicates with a large audience or even a small audience. But this affects many people, and that is never be dependent on someone else or another entity for your main channel of communication, or if you have backups. What am I talking about here? Well, you might have seen in the news recently the social network Parler was pretty much shut down. And this is an incredible story which begins with Donald Trump and what happened with Capital, and I'm sure you've heard all about that. But basically, Donald Trump started to lose his communication channels on Twitter, followed by Facebook, and this is just incredible. The fact that a sitting president can suddenly be silenced. Now, whether you are for Trump or not for Trump, whatever it is, I didn't think in my lifetime we would ever see this, where a president would actually be terminated on their social media accounts. It's just incredible. But shortly after this happened, a lot of people began to move over to Parler because they wanted to be able to talk about things without having Facebook censor them. And Facebook has begun to do a lot more censoring. They're getting a lot of pressure. Twitter is the same. So we're living in an age now where you've got to be very careful what you say, or it might get silenced, or you might even be kicked off a social media network. Now, if a president can be kicked off a social media network, then what does that say for you or me? It means that if we have audiences, people, groups that we communicate with on those social media networks, nothing's guaranteed. It could all be gone tomorrow, and you might do something unintentionally and wake up the next day and it's completely gone. So that's what this video is really about, having a backup in place and never taking that one communication channel for granted. It is far more fragile than you might think. Now back to the Parler story. So what happened in the last few days is Parler gathering a lot of this momentum. They were getting something like 60,000 users enrolling every single day. The founder's all excited because he says the growth is faster than it's ever been. And then Google and Apple began to actually pull that app from their stores. People could no longer download the app. And then shortly after, Amazon, just in the last 24 hours, Amazon Web Services, who were doing the hosting for Parler, they terminated them. So if you go to parler.com right now, it's gone. And that's just incredible. Again, it's so incredible that something like this can happen. Over 4 million users they had, and overnight, gone. Now, what I find really interesting is observing conversations around this on social media. A lot of people are shocked, they're surprised that this would happen. I'm surprised too that this happened to a president. However, I'm not surprised that this kind of thing happens. I've had it happen to me. Way back in 2011, I believe it was, I had, back then it was a fairly large audience for me at the time, and it went on to be a much larger audience. But back then, I'd been building this audience for several years, and my main CRM that I used to communicate with that audience and send out emails, suddenly, overnight, I had my account banned. And that was because I sent out an email with a subject line that they did not like, okay? They did not like. And the very next morning I woke up and suddenly I could no longer use that CRM. So I had all of my audience there, their email addresses, everything on that CRM, and it was gone. For several weeks, I could not communicate with my audience. I had to go and find another platform, and it took a long time to really recover from that. Now, over the years, I had that kind of thing happen again and again and again. And I really began to get used to it, and I learned a very valuable lesson, and that is, if you have your audience, right, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, and I'm talking not in a business context here, I'm talking about just in general, everything, anyone who's building any audience of any kind. But if you have your audience all on one platform and your only channel of communication is through that platform, then you're in a very dangerous position. One of my mentors, he says, the most dangerous number is 1, meaning if you are dependent on one of anything, you're in a very fragile position. So the lesson here is you want to diversify those communication channels. You want to have multiple communication channels, and most importantly, you must control that audience. In other words, you must have their contact details in your possession so that you literally always have it. No one can take it away from you. No one can suddenly ban your account and then you are gone, you're wiped out. So that's the lesson for you today. Hope you get some value out of that. Do me a favor, if you've liked these videos, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Become a subscriber, help me grow my channel. I appreciate you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow.